Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock who?
Knock, knock.
What?
Knock, knock.
Stop it!
Orange.
Orange who?
Knock, knock.
I'll break your oversized neck, you little piece of ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages. There are many ways to quantify the monsters in this series, from best to worst, all the way to which ones would perform the best at a fast food chain. But today we'll be ranking something a little bit different. We'll be ranking just how much these creatures irritate me. The way this has been decided, in a very serious manner, of course, is while I've been playing through Iceborne, I've hit a little clicker every time I've yelled "fuck off" at a monster and recorded the results. I also now inexplicably yell "fuck off" every time I hear a clicking noise. And to be completely honest with you, I also lost the clicker in any and all record of said clicks, so really this is just based on how much I think I want each monster to fuck off at any given moment. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the irritating monsters who irritate me tier list. With the list, of course, being most irritating at the top, least irritating at the bottom, and more irritating to the right side of each tier. Starting off then with Dodogama alone in tier G, because Dodogama is the least irritating monster that could possibly exist. I don't care about his moveset, he's beautiful, and that makes him unirritating, so here's tier G for G, it's Dodogama! Fuck yeah!
Damn, you looking good!
Tier F then is for paying respects to the monsters that didn't even actually make it into Iceborne, so here you go, these four, really sad, sorry. Maybe we'll see you again in a future game, maybe we won't, maybe you'll be replaced by your variants then too, who knows? Starting off tier E then for, they're alright I guess, is Great Jagras, who is, alright I guess. Kuliaku coming in next as he can carry things, but he also carries rocks, which bounce my attacks, and I don't like it when things bounce my attacks that are aimed at their heads, so fucking tier E, you're slightly irritating to me. Nargacuga has got bleed, which is, slightly irritating, but he also has very few attacks that involve his head, which means that it's very easy to just slap him in the face a lot, and as a hammer main, I like slapping things in the face a lot.
Bonk, bonk on the head. Bonk, bonk. Bonk, bonk.
Viper Tobikadachi, he hits you with poison. I don't like poison. Poison is irritating, but I find him very unirritating as a creature in general. He's colored beautifully, and he moves in very beautiful ways. Regular Tobikadachi, however, uses stun as his main thing because he's fucking thunder-based, which means that he stuns a lot and fuck stun, so he's slightly more irritating than Viper Tobikadachi. Taking a giant leap then is Coral Pookie Pookie, who I think is a significant amount more irritating than regular Tobikadachi, but not that irritating, because as irritating as I find some of his moveset, he still makes me extremely happy, and when I am happy looking at a monster, it is impossible for me to be irritated, so Coral Pookie Pookie's at the bottom of tier D, for damn, that causes me some slight annoyance. Namielle is up next because she can be a little bit irritating sometimes, but for similar reasons as Pookie Pookie, I'm just really happy when I fight Namielle. Her animations are really cool, and it makes me feel good, so when I'm feeling good, I can't be irritated. Rathian over here, probably moveset-wise, less irritating than the last two, but I'm just not, it's just sort of normal. I'm not particularly excited fighting Rathian. I'm sorry, Rathian, I'm sure that offends you in some sort of way, but you gotta deal with it.
Fuck Canada!
Brachydios, next up, is slightly more irritating than Rathian. However, again, like the previous ones, he's a happy monster. He makes people happy. He's shaped happily. He does happy things. He essentially has his own ailment, which actually does sort of irritate me, just like OCD-wise, it irritates me. So I guess he gets to be right here after Rathian in tier D. Bonbaro, slightly more annoying than Brachydios, actually, because he can pick up trees. And when he picks up trees, he's got a really long hitbox in front of him. And when he's got a really long, wide hitbox and he's charging, it's fucking irritating. So tier D, that's the only thing he does that's irritating, so tier D, it makes sense. Baroth just irritates me on like a conceptual level. He covers himself in mud, which then dries, and then he has to like dive back into the mud to get more mud, which is ridiculous. Why wouldn't you find something other than mud that's just like consistent so you don't have to reapply it every 2 minutes? Like
5 minutes later.
Sorry, it irritates me. Tier D. Palumu over here has a little bit of wind pressure-y nonsense. I'm not a big fan of wind pressure. I love the visuals of Palumu, but just fuck off with any sort of wind-based attacks, please.
You blew it!
Pookie Pookie, wonderful guy, does a good job, more irritating than regular Coral Pookie Pookie because he doesn't make me as happy. He has less irritating attacks, but he does apply poison. Fuck poison, tier D. Anjanath coming in, tier D over here after Pookie Pookie, slightly more annoying than Pookie Pookie. He has some attacks that are just frustrating, mostly his fire attacks. They sort of come very out of nowhere, and they're surprisingly powerful compared to most of his other things, and I find that irritating. I want monsters to be consistent like Yangaruga, who is slightly more irritating just in a general move per move sense. He has a number of moves that could be considered irritating, but he's also extremely derpy, so like how do you get irritated by something that derpy? I guess some people you could probably be more irritated because like, how am I dying to this? But at the same time, time, like, I see him slam his face in the floor and I'm just happy, so I can't be irritated. Diablos, he sticks his face in walls, which makes him significantly less irritating, but he also just charges you back and forth and makes it sort of difficult to, like, properly hit him with a lot of weapons. I don't like that. It's irritating. Fulgur Anjanath, more irritating than regular Anjanath, more irritating than young Garuga, more irritating than Diablos, but still not irritating because his moves are just not that irritating. I don't find it that way. I think that the overall fight, there's a couple of things that can happen and you're just like, that's fucking annoying. And that makes it a tier D because it's nothing that's consistent, nothing that's that worrying. Rathalos comes on up next here because he's a Rathalos. He's more annoying than Fulgur Anjanath because he flies, but he's less annoying than a lot of things because, like, he's just sort of a basic flying creature, really, to be completely honest with you. Titsuyuku comes in expanding tier D to a double row over here, more annoying than Rathalos because of the flashes. Fuck the flashes. It's as simple as that. Pink Rathian, backflips, double backflips, not a fan, worse than flashes. Simple as. Xenojiva comes on in, more annoying than double backflips. If we're talking about Arch-Tempered Xenojiva with the ridiculous amounts of ground burning shit, then probably a couple tiers higher, but this is just Xenojiva. We're not counting tempereds here really in comparison to non-tempered, so we're just talking regular Xenojiva, and regular Xenojiva is a little bit more annoying than Pink Rathian.
Alrighty then.
Seething Basil Geese up here, beginning tier C. That's tier C for I can't fucking believe that I'm fighting these monsters, which doesn't start with a C, but, you know, we make things work how we have to. Seething Basil Geese is slightly irritating. He could be significantly more irritating in, you know, the world where he's an invader, because invaders are sort of irritating, but at the same time, he's not, and you don't see him that often, and his attacks are beautiful, so while there's a small amount of irritation while you're fighting him, which is why he's in tier C, it doesn't follow you anywhere. You don't get flashbacks to him, really, which is why he doesn't go above tier C. Next up is Zinogre. He's somewhat irritating in the fact that he fucking flips around the place, and while it sort of looks cool, it doesn't look cool enough to me to discount the fact that it annoys me because he is everywhere at the same time. Also, he has Thunder debuff, which means extra stuns. Nightshade Palumu, fucking awesome. A lot of the attacks are cool. However, sleep is one of the most irritating things that can happen to you in Monster Hunter. So, tier C. Acidic Glavenus is actually really neat. A lot of cool attacks, but defense down, you know, I'm not a big fan of defense down, and the tail attacks just in general are very large and arcing and sweeping, and I don't like being unable to just be close to a monster because they're gonna pull out an AoE attack and just nail me in the face. Glavenus, slightly more annoying than Acidic Glavenus because he's got projectiles. Acidic Glavenus doesn't really do the whole projectile thing. I just consider projectiles to be more annoying than monsters that don't have projectiles. It's just a simple fact. Ebonio Dogoron, projectiles. Again, he does the projectile thing where he jumps over and does the projectiles. He still has bleed to a certain extent, but he uses it much less because he uses a lot more dragon abilities. I don't consider dragon that irritating as its own thing. Dragon element is never going to get you killed on its own, just as simple as that. Great Juros, because fuck paralysis. He can paralyze you like a good 6 or 7 times in the like 3 minutes that it takes to kill him, and that's fucking irritating, okay? Odogaron coming up next over here with the big red face, but he is more irritating than even his own counterpart because he does bleed more often, and bleed is irritating.
Here comes the Crimson Jinn.
Uragon coming over here, he's fucking frustrating. He's got projectiles that come out of his tail, he rolls like a motherfucker behind your camera and makes it really hard to keep track of him. We also got Rodabon coming in actually just before Uragon, I'm gonna say. He's sort of derpy in comparison. He rolls sideways on the floor. It's really nice, so he's less irritating than Rodabon. Tigrex up next. I said that rolling was irritating. Tigrex's charge combos are essentially just rolling, but more menacing, and being menaced is quite irritating. So Tigrex, Azure Rathalos up in tier B, because Azure Rathalos fucking won't stop flying and has so many combos that are just existent to murder you without being anywhere close to you, and for most weapons, that's really frustrating. So he's the first monster in tier B for, boy, I wish that you didn't exist. Azure Rathalos, followed by regular Legiana. Legiana's a very pretty fight, however, similar problems with Azure Rathalos in terms of being in the air all the time, and also ice debuff. I don't like ice debuff. It makes it so I can't move as much, and that's not fun. It's irritating. Barioth, also ice debuff, does flying sometimes, but less annoying because of flying, and more annoying just because most of the time when you're in a situation where you're going to get hit because you're just stuck in an animation, you can actively see your death playing out in front of you because you can see him entering his pre-attack animation. You're like, oh fuck, he's gonna do that thing, and then he just jumps on you and murders you, and you have to watch watch it, and it's just really embarrassing for everyone involved except for him.
It's science.
Teostra, slightly more irritating than Barioth, however, still relatively manageable, I guess, compared to some other things. Next up, Beatotus. He applies ice debuff through the use of snow, and he's a fish, so that's already a large amount of irritation for me. Runer Nergigante. Runer Nergigante is cool, but, you know, the bleed and everything, I don't like bleed. I've mentioned how much I don't like bleed. I like bleed even less against something that's more threatening, and being irritated by dying to this monster is a very fair form of irritation to have for Runer Nergigante. Brute Tigrex, all up in here, is right after Runer Nergigante. He doesn't cause bleed, but he roars like all hell, and who likes being roar flinched? Roar flinches are irritating.
That is brand new information!
Black Veil Valhazak up into tier A. Tier A is for because, you know, that's the sound you make when you're fighting them and they irritate the shit out of you. Black Veil Valhazak is here because without miasma resistance, it's the fact that the miasma debuff does not in fact return your health once you lose it, which means that you just chug through potions without really being hit by anything. You can just walk on some shit on the floor and eventually you'll get a debuff and you'll lose a ton of health and you'll just lose most of your potions through doing that, and it's not fun, it's irritating. Black Veil. Call of Taroth, tier A. I like a lot of parts of Call of Taroth, however, she's my ex-wife, so you just gotta put her in tier A. Shrieking Legiana, a lot like Legiana in the fact that she flies a lot. In fact, I think if anything, Shrieking Legiana flies more, which makes her more irritating. More icy attacks, which again, more ice debuff, more irritating. Ancient Leshen Bleed, again, controlling the small monsters is really frustrating. Small monsters are by themselves irritating. So the fact that there is a monster that can control small monsters is fucking irritating. Scarred Yongaruga. He's like regular Yongaruga, except he's got the Spitfire attack. The Spitfire attack is cool, but it's really irritating. So he just gets played significantly higher than regular Yongaruga for that exact reason. Behemoth. Do I have to explain this one? Ecliptic Meteor. Ecliptic Meteor and Charybdis. That's all I even need to say. There's more stuff that's irritating, that's all he needs to say. Black Diablos over here, right after Behemoth. If you fought a Master Rank Black Diablos, then you've experienced the onslaught of charges that happens where she just doesn't give a shit that you exist and just lives on her own life, just charging back and forth. She doesn't even give you an opportunity to attack her. It's just ridiculously irritating. This is just, there's no other way around it for me. She is here. This is the right spot for Black Diablos. Gold Rathian, the big blue fireball is irritating. It leaves behind the patch of fire that you can't stand and it melts through your health. So even if you're like a really guardy type of weapon, like if you guard that thing, it still does a ridiculous amount of damage before you can get out of it just from the melting stuff on the ground. And the backflips, you know, just ridiculous amounts of backflips. Shara Ishvalda, the wind beams. The wind beams are always really uniquely targeted. It feels like they're being targeted at, you know, just whoever has the lowest health at any given time, right? Like there's the precise ones and it's just like he's looking at you and saying, fuck you. But then he also stares at the camera when his eyes opens, and when he's staring at the camera, it's just like, I don't like having things stare at me like that. It's irritating.
Stop looking at me, Swan!
Silver Rathalos, more irritating than Gold Rathian and Shara Ishvalda because of the lines of fire. Silver Rathalos produces significant amounts of just lines of blue fire that leave trails on the ground, which means that he can just fucking lock you in a small area and you just either have to stand there or take damage from the blue fire anyways, which is not fun at all. It is irritating. And the first one in tier S, which stands for I wish you would fuck off, which doesn't start with an S, but again, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm irritated now. I'm talking about the monsters that irritate me. The first monster in tier S is Geratotus, because he's a fish. Fuck fish. He also ruins the entirety of just water weapons in base world because all of his weapons are shit and he's the only water monster in world. There's a lot of problems that I have with him, so he's tier S for maximum irritation tier. Right after him, Levisioth, more irritating than Geratotus because he's got a lot of the similar issues. Maybe he's not responsible for water problems, but he hardens his skin, which is very much an issue for me because I don't like bouncing. I don't like gray numbers. Nobody likes gray numbers of bouncing. It's just not fun. It's irritating. So next up, we got Kieran. Thunder and Stun. Again, nobody likes any of those things, but it's the fact that there's a lot of different patterns to learn, and he can pull out different ones at any moment. Sometimes he mixes them, and it's just, you have a high chance of being hit by random shit in this hunt, and it has a high chance of killing you because he does so much damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
And right on top of Kieran, as you might expect, is Rajang in his normal place. Right on top of Kieran, breaking his horns, doing all that stuff. He's irritating as fuck. All of his attacks are just area of effect. You can't be within 20 feet of this monster on any side and actually expect to hit him without him doing damage to you as well. Velkhana is next up on the list right after Rajang, and the reason for this is actually surprisingly simple. I really cannot stand, that the ice beams go through the ice walls. The fact that they go through the ice walls just ruins the fight for me every time I'm there. It triggers some problem in my brain that I don't like. So just Volcana, tier S, fuck off.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but...
Lunastra, if you fought a Master Rank Lunastra, then you know that her Supernova will kill at least one person in every hunting party. It's just the way it is. If you bring one person on a hunt, if you go in solo, it'll still faint you. Savage Devil Joe, next up, he eats Dodogamas and he invades quests. Do you need more? No, we're good. All right, that's all we need. Okay, Gishala Deora after Savage Devil Joe. His wind aura is just one of the most irritating things as a melee user. His tornadoes are extremely irritating. He does tons of wind pressure based things, and the tornadoes in Master Rank actually like move towards each other, and that's just extremely irritating. And coming in last, the final monster in tier S, which makes him the final monster to even be on the list, Zora Magdaros. Why Zora Magdaros? Have you fought Zora Magdaros? By which I mean, have you stood on Zora Magdaros' back for half an hour? Because that shit is irritating as fuck. There is nothing more irritating than just waiting on Zora Magdaros. Alright everyone, that has been an indisputable tier list of every single monster in this game and their irritatingness specifically. So I hope you liked it, because if you didn't, I might put you on the people who don't like me tier list, which is a video I really don't look forward to making. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Continent, Hollow, we're all here, talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.